Sensei LaRusso.
Nostalgia is one of the most powerful forces in Hollywood. If a movie franchise has been even moderately successful at some point, chances are studios will eventually try to bring it back, polish it up, and convince us to care again. That's exactly what happened with Karate Kid Legends. On the surface, it looked like yet another attempt to cash in on a familiar name, a cynical, quick cash grab designed to lure in fans of the original and maybe sell a few tickets on brand recognition alone. But was there more to it than that? Could this movie actually stand on its own? If you don't have an hour and a half to find out, don't worry, I watched Karate Kid Legends, so you don't have to. By the by, I'm the movie guy, and let's start this video. We open in Beijing at Han's Kung Fu School. Among the students, one stands out right away, Lee. He's not blending in, headphones on, training by himself with that familiar anime protagonist vibe. His mother shows up and it's instantly clear she's not happy. She already lost one son to Kung Fu and now she wants Lee to steer clear of that path. She's just been offered the position as a doctor in New York and she plans to move there with Lee whether he likes it or not. He's still a teenager, so there isn't much he can say or do. And with no emotional farewell or lingering goodbye scenes, they're suddenly in New York. Lee heads out to grab some pizza, and right there he meets Mia. She's working at the shop, she's friendly, and in a very awkward way he flirts by asking where he can find toilet paper. Not the smoothest line in history, but it's enough to make an impression. He might not know it yet, but Mia is going to be an important part of his story. The very next day, Lee runs into her again. This time he helps her carry groceries for the store, and on the way they pass a karate shop. Lee pauses, clearly still drawn to martial arts despite insisting he's done with it. He tells himself he's retired, but Mia jokes that he doesn't really look like a guy who's finished with fighting. Meanwhile, we're introduced to O'Shea, the owner of that karate gym. He's got history with Mia's father and apparently holds some old debts over his head. O'Shea tries to intimidate Mia, but she pushes back. Inside the shop, O'Shea stirs up trouble by telling his star student Connor that Mia has already moved on from him. Connor doesn't take that well, he's aggressive, he's hot-headed, and in a fit of jealousy he takes out his sparring partner. As for Lee, he finally works up the courage to ask Mia out and she agrees. Their first date is lighthearted, they're riding around New York on a scooter having fun until things take a darker turn. Connor and his friends show up. Connor confronts Lee and Mia, and without hesitation he punches Lee in the face, leaving him with a black eye. Connor isn't just a jealous ex, he's a serious fighter who dominates the annual Five Boroughs karate competition, a tournament with a massive cash prize. Back home, Mia's father tries to cover up Lee's injury with makeup, but Lee's mother sees through it. She laid down one simple rule: no fighting, and Lee has already broken it. The situation escalates at school when Connor taunts him into another fight. This time Connor humiliates Lee, barely even using his hands. Then he throws down a challenge. If Lee really wants to fight, he can face him in the Five Borough tournament. And that wraps up Act 1. At this point I have to say I appreciate the creative choice to use Mandarin during the Beijing scenes and English once we were in New York. It gave the movie a grounded feel and emphasized Lee's transition between two worlds. Tonally, it still feels pretty lighthearted. There are hints at deeper themes, violence, loss, grief over Lee's brother's death, but at this stage it's mostly about teen love, standing up to bullies, and the early beats of a coming-of-age story. Here's where things get more complicated. Mia's father Victor had his own demons. He used to be a strong fighter, but when Mia was born he left the ring behind to run a pizzeria. It was stable, safe, the responsible choice basically. But he owes money to O'Shea, and O'Shea isn't the forgiving type. When O'Shea sends thugs to collect in a back alley, Lee intervenes. He takes them down with sharp kung fu skills, reminding us that retired or not, he's still a fighter. Victor is impressed and wants to learn, but Lee insists he's out. He knows too well the moment when fighting stops being a sport and turns into tragedy. Then comes the side quest. Victor gets offered a fight, maybe two. The payday would clear the debts and even help him pay for Mia's college, but Victor is in no condition to fight alone. He asks Lee to train him. At first Lee refuses, but after a talk with Mr. Han he agrees. Soon he's teaching Victor the basics. Balance, power, flexibility. Their bond grows, and even Mia, who's skeptical at first, comes to respect what they're doing. Meanwhile, Connor starts slipping into the background, though his jealousy continues to simmer. During one late-night training session, Lee and Victor finally share their deepest struggles. We learn the truth about Lee's brother. After winning a kung fu competition, his brother was cornered by his opponents. Outnumbered, the fight escalates until someone pulled a knife. Lee froze. His brother didn't make it. That guilt has haunted him ever since. At the pizzeria, Lee gets invited to a local event, something very New York. He goes, but his feelings for Mia are complicated. He thinks of them as friends, though his heart clearly wants more. Then he sees her with Connor, close together, his arm around her shoulders. It hurts him more than any punch Connor has thrown. At the midpoint, I have to highlight how strong Lee's relationship with Victor is. It feels surprisingly authentic, even though it starts as a side story. Both characters shine here, but Lee's treatment of Mia is odd. He clearly cares for her, yet convinces himself it's just a friendship. Meanwhile, major characters like his mother, Connor, and even Mr. Han fade almost completely from the story, which weakens the act a bit. It's fight night for Victor. Lee is in his corner, but before the match he confronts Mia about what he saw with Connor. She explains that she's finally broken things off for good. She admits that sometimes people repeat old mistakes, but now she wants to make new ones with Lee. They nearly kiss, but the bell rings and it's time for Victor's fight. The fight starts promisingly. Victor looks sharp, his training with Lee paying off, he lands solid shots, even takes control for a while, but O'Shea is in the building and he isn't about to let Victor win. He signals the other fighter to fight dirty, the opponent elbows Victor, stuns him, and finishes the job with a knockout. Victor is rushed to the hospital. What follows is the best scene in the movie. Lee is suddenly triggered by the parallels of his brother's death. The ambulance, the helplessness, the pleas for help, it all crashes down on him. His PTSD takes over. He freezes again, unable to move, stuck in the nightmare of reliving his trauma. Mia tries to snap him out of it, but can't understand the depth of what's happening inside his head. Lee withdraws completely. He stops talking to everyone, even Mr. Han, but Han isn't fooled. He shows up at Lee's apartment, sensing something is deeply wrong. With quiet wisdom, he comforts Lee, encouraging him to face the pain instead of running away from it. Together they visit Victor, who's recovering but still struggling. Han promises that they'll help him, so he and Mia won't have to leave town. That promise means one thing: Han will train Lee for the tournament, which begins in just 10 days. Cue the training montage. Lee finds a gym and Han even brings in Ralph Macchio for a cameo, returning to the franchise he helped build. Together they whip Lee into shape. Between the sweat and sparring, Lee also finds time to reconnect with Mia. They talk about fighting, about the tournament, and about starting fresh. Act 2 leaves me impressed with Ben Wong, who plays Lee. He balances humor, trauma, and determination beautifully. His story itself isn't groundbreaking, it leans on familiar beats, but his performance is elevated. The Five Boroughs tournament begins. Lee and Connor are on opposite sides of the bracket, both tearing through the competition until they inevitably meet in the finals. The stage is set. Lee, the underdog with everything to prove, versus Connor, the reigning champion with everything to lose. The rules are straightforward. First to 8 points or a knockout wins. Connor comes in like a tiger, aggressive and disrespectful, but Lee stays composed. He weathers the storm, digs deep for the mental strength he's been searching for since his brother's death, and pulls through. After a final clash, Lee emerges victorious. With the prize money, he helps Victor recover, his relationship with Mia blossoms, his mother finally accepts his path, and Mr. Han is proud of how far his nephew has come. Even Connor learns some humility. O'Shea, oddly enough, nothing much happens to him. The villain just sort of fades into the background, but for Lee, the ending is as happy as can be. So what do I make of Karate Kid Legends? Honestly, I enjoyed it while it lasted, but I'll doubt I'll remember much of it next week or even tomorrow. It's one of those movies you can chew on and spit out just as easily, and that feels intentional. It runs a tight 90 minutes, hits the familiar beats, and sprinkles in some modern themes for good measure. Lee is easy to root for, his backstory gives him weight, and Ben Wong makes the role work. Mia and Victor add solid emotional layers. Victor especially might be the unsung MVP here. On the downside, Lee's mom is underused, the third act lacks intensity, and some stylistic choices make it feel a little too much like a flashy arcade game. But the PTSD scene was genuinely powerful. It caught me off guard and showed that even in a predictable story, there are moments that can surprise you. And sometimes that's all you need. Not every movie has to be deep or groundbreaking. Sometimes it just has to be entertaining. And Karate Kid Legends, for me, it was entertaining. What did you think of Karate Kid Legends? Let me know down in the comments. While you are there, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Until next time, keep on watching movies, guys.